Report unusual behavior. Barricade your homes. Avoid all contact with infected individuals. Wait for official instructions. Wait my ass.
Kill all sons of bitches. That's my official instructions.
Grab some pills and get your AKs ready. Left 4 Dead 2 is here, and now is the time to make some zombies' heads explode. Left 4 Dead 2 overcame quite a few obstacles before its release, which was just 1 year after the first game. Many gamers decided to form a boycott group on Steam against the launch date of Left 4 Dead 2. Their goal was to gain more support for the first game and ensure the second game would be worth the money. Since Left 4 Dead 2's release, gamers have been exploring this action-packed game to see if it satisfied their craving for intense zombie action. So, was this the game worth the money, or should it have been Left 4 Dead?
Nick, what the hell? You shot the pilot.
Well, he wasn't doing a very good job once he became a zombie, now was he?
True, he was a zombie, but he was also our only pilot.
I shot a zombie. He was a zombie, Ellis. He must have gotten bitten before he picked us up.
Unlike Left 4 Dead 2 tries to tie in each campaign in a linear fashion. Each mission starts off where the first campaign ended. This works, but at times it lacks cinematics or continuity to transition into each mission. You just start the level in the vehicle you left off in. When you beat the campaign, all you're treated to is a brief scene of them escaping, and that's it. Even after you beat the game and you expect some sort of cinematic that would explain things further, you're left with nothing.
Check it out! Kittyland!
Valve must have chose this method to allow players the freedom of playing the levels in any order that the player desires. This works if you plan to play the game out of order and not follow the storyline, but if anybody plays it straight through without changing the order of the levels, expecting some sort of epic ending cinematic, you will be disappointed, for there is no conclusion. After playing the game, the player still won't know much about how the infection started to spread, or how anyone really plans to deal with the infection. Gamers are left feeling like a wandering group that has no clue about what's going on. All players know is that they need to survive and get out of town. Some individuals argue that the characters in this game may not be as memorable as the original 4 characters found in the previous. However, as the story progresses, you learn to accept the new set of 4 characters and grow attached to them. Despite the lack of a major, in-depth storyline, Valve did a good job trying to make you care for each character.
Hello? Rescue 7. That's coming from the bridge. Bridge. Who is this?
My name's Nick. You heard the man. Let's get across the goddamn bridge.
Enhanced bump mapping and lighting effects greatly improved Left 4 Dead 2's graphics. Players will notice that some of the levels in this game are set during the day. As the story progresses, gamers will discover that there are plenty of levels set during the night. This provides an equal balance between day and night action. However, the weather isn't that dynamic. Weather conditions are predetermined by scripted events, which frequently switch after levels are completed or at specific points during the mission. Yet, there is one in particular level that's unique. This distinctive level has a sudden storm that picks up and dies down every minute, which makes it difficult for the player to see and hear their own teammates and infected enemies.
Reloading!
The texture resolution of Left 4 Dead 2 is pretty high. You'll discover sharp and crisp detailed textures on the characters and their environment, which matches the high quality of its predecessor Left 4 Dead. The source engine has aged pretty well with time, but Valve should consider newer technological enhancements to compete with current game engines. However, Valve has patched the engine with some nice effects like depth of field, motion blur, HDR, and improvements in character detail.
Hey, I'm reloading. Here they come!
Got a cricket bat.
There are several new weapons and enemies in the game. Dismemberment has received quite an upgrade. When zombies are shot, several different effects can occur. Either their entire body part falls off, or you can see the bones splinter through their skin, and occasionally you can see infected enemies have their guts drop out and drag it around. Thus, Left 4 Dead 2 definitely earns its M rating.
Hey, can we stop and make some cotton candy? Seriously.
Melee weapons bring a whole new experience to the table. The machete cleaves through the infected like butter, and the guitar composes a painful smack in the head. The use of the frying pan is quite satisfying, especially when you hear the expected clang collide with the zombie's face. Sporadically, you'll encounter SWAT zombies, which can only be killed by shooting them in the back. They usually drop the nightstick. Additionally, the katana makes you feel like a samurai. Every now and then, you will also find a chainsaw or M79 grenade launcher. These weapons are great, but they only last for a certain amount of uses. For example, the chainsaw has a bar that depletes every time you rotate the blades. The M79 only has a certain amount of ammo that can't be refilled before you find another loaded one. Jockey, Charger, and Spitter are the new special infected enemies. The Jockey climbs on your back and starts to drag you away from your team. The Charger sprints right at you and starts to pound you to the ground. Finally, the Spitter throws up acid that hurts you, but it doesn't attract zombies as Boomer Spew did. Nonetheless, players will experience tremendous amounts of damage if they stand in a spit. Mudmen are another type of infected you'll encounter. They are only found in the swamp missions, and they can be pretty annoying as they move towards you like gorillas on all four. You may be asking yourself, what's the point of this animalistic movement? Well, once they go into water, it's hard to spot them since they're covered up to their head. As soon as they reach you, they start doing damage and blinding you with mud.
Gotta reload!
The AI director is pretty well done. At just the right moments throughout the game, Left 4 Dead 2 places zombies and special infected in your path, which causes you and your team to become separated and disorganized. However, your teammate AI is still lacking in quite a few areas. For example, in some cases you will see your AI buddies get confused about how to do the following: navigate certain pathways, shoot at zombies when you're being hit by special infected, or fail to keep up and get left behind. It's not as good as having a team of full actual players. In Left 4 Dead 2, there are several types of gameplay to select from, which include the following: a realism mode, a versus mode, a survival mode, and a scavenge mode. The realism mode makes the game even more difficult. For example, dead players won't return unless you use a defibrillator throughout the level. Zombies must be killed with headshots, and there is an increase to the number of special infected hovering around you. Scavenge mode is similar to the last level of the first campaign. You and your teammates are pitted against other players, which play as the infected, and your team must get an abundant supply of gas cans to start up a generator. In Versus, it's pretty much up to you and your team versus other special infected players. Survival mode puts you and your team up against the clock to see who can survive the longest. Left 4 Dead 2 has 5 new campaigns, a bunch of new weapons, and 2 new gameplay modes. The game separates itself enough from the previous game for it to be a successful sequel, but there still could have been more added into the mix. The story unravels as you progress, but there aren't any major cinematics or points that stand out, and it fails to explain why the whole mystery of this infection is around. Overall, the game delivers, and it's definitely a lot of fun to work your way to the next safe house. For the full written review, head on over to pixelsmashers.com. Thanks for watching.
Maybe the helicopter. Maybe it's made of chocolate.